What's up guys, it's Kabalord. A lot of people have been asking me for this Gren Maju Stun deck. I've been playing for a while. I've been using it on remote duels, on live stream duels. And as I mentioned to everyone, it is a budget Gren Maju deck because we're obviously not playing Pot of Extravagance. This was before Toon Chaos, so obviously Pot of Extravagance has had a reprint, but it's still a bit pricey. So if you're looking to play Gren Maju Stun, this is an option. This is something that works for me and may not work for everyone, but it's mainly cards you can just easily get, like all within a budget. So yep, without further ado, let's go. So let's just move this out the way. Alright, we're going to start with main deck as usual. Of course, we're playing 3 of the bad boy Gren Maju. Something you guys have to understand, in Gren Maju, OTK, Stun, or whatever, Gren Maju isn't always your win condition, so don't break your back, don't waste your resources trying to get to Maju, to OTK, especially in Maju Stun, which is like a heavy control deck. Remember, Maju is not your win condition, guys, so there he is, Gren Maju. We've got the baby Gren Maju, 3 Eater of Millions. This card's really good when you bring it out on the field. Basically, once per turn, whatever it battles, it banishes. So it's really good for getting rid of monsters like, Avermax, Boral Sword, stuff like that. It banishes. It is once per turn, unfortunately. What's good about this is that it can't be used as fusion material, so your opponent can't super poly it off. And I believe his summon's not once per turn. You have to banish 5 from extra deck, hand, or field. So if you've got 2, I believe you can summon both because it's not once per turn. But yeah, so far Gren Maju, 3 Eater of Millions. We're playing 3 ofs a lot because obviously we're not playing Pot of Extravagance, we're playing Pot of Desires. So you don't want to banish all your pieces. One of my absolute favorite cards in Maju Stun is Fossil Dyna. Little boy, basically, if you set him, flip him up the following turn, or if he gets attacked into, it basically pops every special summoned monster on the field, but it also includes yours, which is unfortunately. But he is really good. I mean, if your opponent has no monster negate when he flips up, he's really good. Or if you've got a decent amount of floodgates on the field, normal summon him, then lock into your opponent into not special summoning. I absolutely love this card, guys. 3 Fossil Dyna, another really good lock card. Inspector Border, everyone struggles with Inspector Border. Basically, no monster effects for you and your opponent, unless the number of monster effects activated that turn is less than the type of monsters currently on the field. So Ritual, Ling, Synchro, Xyz, Fusion. It is quite a complicated effect, so definitely before you're going to play Border, make sure you know how the effect works because it is very confusing. Sorry. So 3 Border, we're playing 2 Gizmek Orochi. He's just there as a body, really. He's a big booty, 2450 defense, 2450 attack. He's another monster on the field. And he also helps us to banish for our Gren Maju. That's it for monsters. Let's move on to spells. Spell cards for draw power. The 3 Pot of Desires. 3 isn't really ideal in Gren Maju Stun because obviously the 3 else you want is Pot of Extravagance. But if you can't get your hands on them, I mean, Pot of Desires is the super budget draw power card. So Pot of Desires, 3 of. And it also helps us banish stuff for our Gren Maju. More draw power, Pot of Duality, reveal 3, add 1 to hand, shuffle the rest back to deck. The only downside is you can't special summon, which isn't really bad in this build, because the only monsters you special summon are Eater of Millions and Gizmek Orochi, so it just locks you out of, summoning those 2, because Border's a normal summon, Dyna's a normal summon, and Gren Maju's obviously a normal summon. So 2 Pot of Duality, 3 can become a brick, definitely. The one-offs, Card of Demise. Again, we're playing a lot of back row, so set your 4, Card of Demise, draw a monster, or like just consistently draw power. So one-off, that is a one-off, which also runs the risk of being banished with Pot of Desires, but I'm playing a card that will hopefully help you get it. Set aside so I can remember. Now on to the traps, my favorite. I love traps. So basically, compulsory evacuation device, 3 off. You really want to target your opponent's normal summon. A lot of decks can suffer when you pop or you get rid of their normal summon, because that's basically like a combo starter. For example, Invoked, if they don't have Invocation in hand but they hard Drew Alistair, bounce it back, then they don't get the effect to search Invocation. So, and also on summon for like anything they bring from the extra deck. 3 offs again, Crackdown. Basically, it's like continuous mind control. Target 1 monster your opponent controls. Keep control of it until this card is on the field. If the monster leaves the field, destroy the card. So, yeah, basically, it's from stopping your opponent going into combos. Our negates, 3 Solemn Judgment. Obviously, you don't have to play the Ghost. There is Solemn Judgment's super cheap at the minute. It's had so many reprints. So definitely Solemn Judgment, negate any spell or trap or monster summon. 3 Solemn Judgments. 3 Solemn Strikes for monster effects and special summons. If you're playing Pot of Extravagance, this is at 2 because you don't really want to draw 3 because you might not be able to activate it all the time depending on life points. But since we're playing Desires, we want 3 offs to prevent banishing all our copies. So triple Solemn Strike, triple Imperm. We're not playing hand traps in this deck, so Imperm is our monster negate. But again, we're playing so many negates or like locks in this deck that we basically want to tell our opponent, no, you can't do that. 2 off Summon Limit. A lot of decks suffer with this card. You don't want 3 because we're playing there can be only 1, which is also a really good lock. But Summon Limit in Gren Maju, you will never summon more than twice. 3 is just too much, really. But you could easily just control the field with Floodgates and 1 monster on board. But this does hurt a lot of decks like DDDs, what's it called, Rockets, Salman Great, because they do summon a lot. So 2 offs. The 3 offs, a card that really makes everyone struggle. There can be only 1. You and your opponent can only control 1 type. As I mentioned, you only ever have 1 monster on the field. So if you've got Inspector Border on the field and then you've got Summon Limit and there can be only 1 and your opponent isn't playing like back row removal, they are going to struggle quite a lot. For our last 2 traps, Sales Pitch. I saw someone playing this at a regionals, and I found it quite good, because what deck doesn't search cards from the deck to hand, basically? If your opponent adds a card from deck to hand except by drawing them, you can reveal 1 card from your deck and add it to your hand, but you can't activate it that turn. So that is basically like a search anything in your deck. What I usually tend to go for, if I've not banished it yet, is Card of Demise, because obviously it's potentially drawing 3 cards, or depending on the outcome of the game or at what point in the game we are, it's what I pick, but it basically lets you search anything. You don't want 3, because if you draw 3, I mean, it's once per turn, so you don't really want a brick. So yeah, that's it for the main deck. We're going to go extra deck. We've got 1 Link Karibo, basically just to link off our Eater of Millions. It's not necessary, but I mean, I've tried making this deck as budget as possible. Some cards might have spiked up, some cards might have gone down in price. But yeah, it's just cards everyone has, it's staples. We're playing a Nightmare Phoenix, we're playing Nightmare Unicorn, again, just generic Link monsters to get rid of back row, to basically shuffle anything back into the deck. Super Poly targets, I'll get that at the end. Xyz package, we're playing obviously the Dragooblion package, which I also play in my Blue Eyes deck. We're playing the Galaxy package. A lot of decks play level 8, so you can just crack down something and Xyz it off. If you've got enough level 8s. The only level 8 we're playing is Gizmokurochi, but I mean, he is easy to get on the field, so if you can go into Xyz place, do so. But again, Maju Stun is basically Floodgate, negate, and slowly attack. You have to be really patient with the deck. Super Poly targets. Super Poly's in the main deck, if you're wondering. But yeah, you basically have a Super Poly target for everything. Swamp Dragon, Earth Golem, Predaplant, Dragostapelia, Starving Venom, the big old Predaplant that no one can pronounce, and World Chalice Scar Dragon. Basically, 2 monsters of the same attribute but different types. That's a Salamangreat Super Poly target. 3 dark monsters, 2 dark monsters. Sorry, that's a fusion and a dark monster. That's 3 dark monsters, and that's 3 link monsters. So, pretty much a Super Poly target for everything. That is it for the extra deck. Now, side deck. The side deck, I mean, you really have to just side depending on what the meta is like. But this is just, again, generic stuff I like to side in. Nibiru, I mean, card's really good. Can stop a lot of decks, but there's decks that do, like, can play around it, so 3 Cosmic Cyclone. Everyone plays Twin Twisters. I prefer Cyclone because for like Eldritch, you banish spell or traps rather than just sending them to the graveyard and then them being able to recycle them. Here it is, the 3 Super Poly, just Super Poly like boards off. What else? We've got 3 Evenly Matched. These are really important. I know they're not budget friendly, but I mean, neither is Lightning Storm, is it? But yeah, Evenly Matched is here for when we're made to go second, because this deck is, well, Maju Stun is a want to go first all the time, but obviously your opponent seeing what you play, they know going second is really hard for us. So Evenly Matched basically is a good going second. Super Poly as well. Cosmic Cyclone in case they've got Twin Twister set and they activate it before the end phase. Basically pop your traps. That is hard. So yeah, 3 Evenly Matched, and also because they'll obviously side in a lot of back row removal. We're playing 3 Dark Bribe. This card's really good because it negates spell and trap activation, destroys them. The only downside is that your opponent gets to draw a card, which again, you don't want to just like negate any spell or trap. You want to basically I reserve this for like Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclones, or back row removal. But then the last resort can also be where is it? The Solemn Judgments, but remember, you have to pay half your life points for the Solemns. So yeah, do be careful. Do try and watch what your opponent's playing. As all the time, game 2, they're always going to side in backward removal. So make sure you do play a lot of backward removal, because we're playing obviously a lot of trap cards in this deck, so they'll want to pop those. But yeah, this is my budget Gren Maju deck. Try to make it as budget as possible. Obviously get cheaper prints of the cards. But yeah, if you guys have questions, suggestions, if I explained something wrong, do let me know in the comment section. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for all the support on YouTube now, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Make sure to stay tuned for remote duels, remote deck profiles, unboxings. Yeah, lots of content coming soon. Thank you guys so much. Carbalord out.